WBA interim, or is it regular? Cruiserweight world champion Yunier Dorticos. You'll have to clarify with me whether it's interim or regular, because I'm not 100% sure. On BoxRec, it says that Yunier Dorticos won the WBA interim Cruiserweight world title in his last fight. So perhaps he's been upgraded to regular champion, or perhaps he's still interim champion. I'm not sure. But anyway, Yunier Dorticos will face Dmitry Kudryashov in the quarterfinal of the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight version of the tournament. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Yunier Dorticos, including myself, because I've never actually seen Dorticos fight, full disclosure, never seen the guy fight. But for those of you who are in the same boat as me, Dorticos is a Cuban fighter. He's had a total of 21 fights, 21 wins, 20 by knockout. So it would suggest he's a pretty prolific puncher. He, let me see here, was born in 1986, the 11th of the 3rd. So that would make him, what, 31 years old. He's a cruiserweight. He's orthodox. He stands 6'3" tall. His record, if you look at the names on it, does not contain many people that you would recognize. I mean, there's Edison Miranda on there. God knows what Miranda was doing fighting a cruiserweight. He beat Miranda in 2014. His last fight was against Yuri Kalenga, who I do know a little bit. He knocked out Kalenga in the 10th round. Other than those two, very, very few names on there that you will have ever heard of. So that is a little concerning. Dorticos does have this good knockout ratio, 95%, 20 knockouts out of 21 fights, but the level of opposition seems poor. And you look at the fact that he went the distance with Edison Miranda in 2014. He won a unanimous decision. That's also, a little suspect to me. Edison Miranda was a career middleweight, and this guy's going the distance with Yunier Dorticos. Not only was Miranda a career middleweight, but he was a career middleweight who didn't necessarily have the greatest punch resistance. So, yeah, that's not really a good look. But Dorticos reportedly had hundreds of amateur fights in Cuba, as many Cubans do. So, perhaps he's technically very good. Punching power, not sure about that. Whether it's good or not remains to be seen. I'm going to have to go and do my research and go and look up some of this guy's fights in the coming weeks, so I can get a better feel for how I think he's going to do against Dmitry Kudryashov. So the guy on the other side of the equation is Dmitry Kudryashov. I know a lot more about him than I do about Dorticos. Kudryashov is, let's see here, he stands 6'2.5". He's from Russia. He's 31 years of age. He's had a total of 22 fights. He's won 21 of them, lost one, which was by knockout, and all of his 21 victories have been by knockout. So he's got a 100% knockout ratio minus the one fight that he lost. So on BoxRec, it gives it as a 95% knockout ratio. But in terms of the fights he's actually won, he's won them all by knockout. Kudryashov is a fairly basic fighter, to be honest with you. He comes forward, sticks a jab. He's not really too square on. Sometimes he squares up his shoulders and he puts the earmuffs on, as Teddy Atlas likes to call it. But he stands side on for the most part, throws a heavy jab, looks to get his opponent stationary, and then he unloads extremely hard punches. I think Dmitry Kudryashov is probably the hardest puncher in this particular tournament. If I haven't mentioned already, 31 years old, from Russia. Fairly basic, but a murderous puncher. I've seen him ice a lot of people. His last fight was against Ola Duradola, which was a rematch. The first fight, Kudryashov was knocked out in the second round. That was a sensational upset at the time in Russia. But he has bounced back since then. Had a couple fights, then he had the rematch with Duradola, which he won by a 5th round TKO. Again, he was stopped in the first fight against Duradola in the second round. He really blew himself out against Duradola. He had no respect for Duradola in the first fight. Just thought he was going to walk straight through him. Unloaded far too many punches. Blew himself out. He was tired. And then Duradola started coming back at him and managed to stop him up against the ropes. So he's a very exciting fighter, Kudryashov. Some other notable names on his record. He knocked out Juan Carlos Gomez, who was a a Cuban of some note from back in the days. Juan Carlos Gomez, I believe he fought Vitaly Klitschko back in the days. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure he fought Klitschko for the heavyweight title, Vitaly. Am I bugging here? But I swear he did. So yeah, he fought Juan Carlos Gomez, a few other people are in his record. So yeah, he's a prolific puncher, fairly basic, but if he catches anybody clean, they're going to be in serious trouble. Will he be able to catch Dorticos clean? Again, as someone who's never watched Dorticos, I'm not sure if Dorticos is slick enough to be able to get away from Kudryashov. I don't know if Dorticos has the punching power to be able to exploit the mistakes that Kudryashov makes. And Kudryashov does make mistakes. He is a bit clunky. He is a bit robotic at times. The first time I saw him, he kind of reminded me a little bit of Sergey Kovalev. A less refined version of Kovalev, but there are some similarities there. A bigger, less refined version. He certainly has the kind of vicious puncher's instinct that Sergey Kovalev has. A very, very vicious man, Kudryashov. You can just see it in his eyes. You know, that same kind of look that Kovalev has, that killer instinct look. Kudryashov has it. And he has brutally knocked out a lot of guys over there in Russia. So, yeah, he's definitely someone who I'm looking forward to watching in this particular tournament. I always like watching punchers, particularly a guy like Kudryashov, who not only can easily knock anybody out, but he's vulnerable himself. I wouldn't say Kudryashov has poor punch resistance. I don't think so. But his defense can be poor at times. And we saw that in the first Duradola fight. We even saw it a little bit in the Duradola rematch. And some people say his stamina is potentially suspect. And that's the case with a lot of guys who are big punchers. You know, they can blow themselves out because they put so much energy behind a lot of their shots. You know, I don't believe, I know for a fact, Kudryashov has never been the distance yet. So can he go the distance? There are going to be guys in this tournament who are likely going to be able to take him the distance. Is Dorticos one of them? Let me know what you feel about this fight in the comment section below. I think it's intriguing. All right? It's happening. I'm out.